Hello, good morning. Let's get on into it. I think I've got all the buttons pushed this morning. Hey, guys, this is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn LaVern, and yes, this is one street over. What's going on one street over from where you live? And I'm kind of casual today. That tells you that we don't have school. It's President's Day, and so even though we got 2 weeks off, we still get today off because that's on our calendar. Now, they did pull back. We were supposed to be off. The kids were supposed to be off on March 2nd. And that's a scheduled teacher in service day, and they've decided to have the kiddos come to school that day because of the missed snow days. And we're so behind on everything. We need the kids there. We are waiting to see if we're going to get. I saw where they gave a waiver to a bunch of the surrounding counties in regards to days missed, but I did not see the last list I saw did not yet have Robertson County on it. And I'm sure it's just we have waiting for the paperwork to get here because if, Cheatham's going to get it, then I'm sure we will as well. But we'll just have to wait and see. But welcome to it. Happy President's Day. Happy President's Day,
Bill. Looked out the door.
Do what?
If you haven't looked out the door or window this morning, guess what?
Foggy.
Really fog. It's really heavy.
I had to crawl coming in because I looked down in the hall.
About you, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, down there on the creek.
It always happens when there's no wind. Mm-hmm. Of course, as it brightens up the sun, they call it sun burning it off, so you'll be out of it by 8:30 or 9 o'clock.
Yeah, but it's super dense right now. But a lot of people are, when I say a lot of people, not really. The schools are out. Government offices typically tend to be closed, but maybe the banks. But I never got President's Day off whenever I was in broadcasting. That's not a day we would take. We would take Christmas and New Year's, and I worked a lot of those too. And but this is not a holiday that a ton of people take. But if you're in the school system, things like that, a lot of times you get. I don't think we got President's Day off when I was a kid. I really don't.
President's Day is a term that's fairly new to us. It used to be Washington's birthday,
right?
So
yeah,
it's. I don't know how people think about it. I sort of sloughed it off most of the time, thinking it's just honoring all the presidents. But really, it didn't start out that way. It does now, but.
Well, and that's why Bill is here. We had this would normally be a day Caleb Stratton would come in. He was not available, and I like it's President's Day, and I had challenged my kiddos last week in one of our audio video projects, and I actually haven't gone. It was on Friday. I said, why don't you can either make a video about the Olympics or you can produce something about President's Day and the origins of why we have President's Day. And so we haven't gone through those yet. We'll go through those sometime over the next week. But I thought, well, that might be a really interesting thing to do today. And who else would I call but Bill Jones to say, hey, what's going on with that? And
you make me study.
I know. And
but good. I like learning. So
well, you're just like my daddy. Your pleasure is learning, and honestly, it's mine too. One of my greatest pleasures is. And now that's not to say I don't like to, do nonsensical things, but I feel so fulfilled when I'm learning and just digging into stuff, and especially when it comes to scripture and stuff like that. But I find American history absolutely fascinating, and we're so.
It's why we are who we are.
You better believe
it's very important. I think I used to not think that way.
Well, we were so
math and science person. I loved math and science growing up, but I didn't care for history. Mm-hmm. But I do now.
Oh, I love it, and I find I find it just so. I find out things all the time that I'm like, I had no idea. And you sat down and you said, I've got some stuff you don't know. And I thought, I'll bet you do. Now
I got a lot about presidents is what I've researched about, which is some interesting stuff I didn't know until I researched it. But President's Day, we know of, didn't really start with the name President's Day. It was George Washington's birthday. And President's Day originated in Washington's birthday in 1879 and expanded to the federal offices in 1885 as a holiday.
Okay, so hang on a second. So they started by celebrating Washington's birthday
in
1879. And then it expanded to federal official holiday
in 1885. That's when it really started.
That was just to celebrate the father of our country, Washington. Okay, so keep going.
So, it's usually it was. I think they originally which it is now, the third Monday in February. They stated that as an official holiday in 1971. So a lot of this stuff is fairly new to us in my lifetime, And they had a Uniform Monday Holiday Act. And that's when they combined a lot of holidays to be on Monday instead of Friday or Thursday or something. They just made a Monday. So it would give people a 3-day
weekend. Give you a little,
That's the reason they did that. And then they popularized the name President's Day, which included Lincoln's birthday. Lincoln's birthday was, it was the February 12th, and Washington's was
22nd.
22nd, right. So they sort of combine them together. Now we just say President's Day in honoring all the presidents. So it's sort of unique how that has transgressed over the time.
Did they ever have a separate Lincoln's birthday, or was it always
some states?
Some states like Illinois had a Lincoln's.
In fact, not all states recognize President's Day like we do.
Oh,
and
really?
We'll get into that later.
Okay.
And some of them combine, like Arkansas combines a civil rights leader with Washington's birthday to celebrate both at one time. And Alabama's a little different. North Carolina doesn't do it, and it's just Delaware, several states that.
I thought it was a federal thing.
It is a federal, but not a state. Not necessarily states. North Carolina doesn't, as a state, doesn't recognize President's Day. So some of them, they all recognize it as a federal day, holiday, but not states.
Okay.
So, it's just sort of funny that you see the states just do whatever they want to do. They're not exactly have to follow all the rules that everybody else does.
States' rights.
Sort of unique, because I don't know any other country that does anything like that, but the United States. So pretty unique.
We're pretty unique. So cool. Okay, so it's they had Washington's birthday.
Yeah, now the initial celebration of his birthday began after the Revolutionary War in 1778. And that was an alternate of celebrating the King's birthday from England. So see, they had this King's birthday they were celebrating after the Revolutionary War. Then they called it, we'll celebrate Washington's birthday in 1779. So isn't that unique that it started, from
all the way back to the 18th century?
All the way back to the King of England.
Okay, okay.
And then it became a federal holiday in 1879. Now that's, not too far away. 1879, I don't consider real old. I think of the early 1900s as, I knew a lot about that because I was born in 44, so I remember stuff in the 50s and stuff like that. But you think some things are only about 100, 120 years old that we really consider ancient, and is not, And before that, just say 100 years before my birthday was around Civil War time. And I think now I'm 82, so I don't think of 100 years very long. It's long, but I think, that's not as long ago as I once thought it was, when I was a younger kid.
They say that if you go to Europe and you start talking about old things, or if there's somebody from Europe that's here and you take them around, it's like, this is 100 years old, it's 200 years old, they look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, right.
Because that's just
everything is hundreds of years old.
Yeah, and it's like there's so much more age and across the sea than what we have here when it comes to
I was
structures and things like that.
Talking to David Woodard here, who was a missionary in England, and I told him, I said, I watch a lot of English movies, and I said, I noticed when they go to church, it's a big old, looks like church is hundreds of years old, and they'll show 6 or 8 people sitting there, and I said, is that is that real? He said, yeah, that's normal in England. He said only 3% of the population go to church, and most of that is Christmas and weddings.
Wow.
And I said, well, how do they pay for the church building? He said, well, the landowner, the Lord that owns the land, keeps the church up. And they believe if you're not buried in church cemetery, you won't go to heaven. It's a lot of things like that. There's no faith involved. But anyway, it's really interesting. A lot of our customs, ideas, and everything came from England. And we might get into it this morning a little bit. But this Uniform Monday Holiday Act has sort of combined it all and got it back to Monday, celebrating like that.
Okay.
But it's used now to celebrate or honor all presidents of the United States now. And I hope we have time to get into some of the little quirky things.
Just get going, yeah. And hi to Buzzy Poole out there, and Paul Rainey. I guess he's out by the lake.
We might have a Buzzy Poole holiday sometime.
There you go. And
we never had a mayor named Buzzy.
I know it. I love it. It's funny. But Paul apparently is outside listening to the signal, and he's got it up by Hickory Lake. So that's pretty cool. And we'll talk about Lee Marie's President Day workshop today at 1 o'clock, beginning line dance. Oh yeah, she's having a special thing today. You can go and you can have like a whole day of dance lessons starting at 1.
I saw a picture this morning of her and her husband dancing at a Murph's Barn Valentine thing. They were in red. That was pretty neat.
They are quite the dance. They're going to be dancing in a video for what's the name of the band? I'm going blank. It's the guys from Australia, and I'm just like, it's a Christian contemporary. But they're in a big. They're going to be in a music video. She'll chime in here.
We have a lot of music, movies made here, music videos and things. That's just amazing to me.
And but she's going to be in their video, and I'm just completely blank this morning the name of that band. But anyway, it's the Australian guys, the ones that did the Drummer Boy, and I'm just going blank on it. But anyway, we're talking to Bill Jones. I want to give him plenty of time, and we'll get back into all this. Oh, King and Country. That's it, King and Country.
Yeah.
And the song Ever and Ever Before. Ever and Ever Before. It's a song about marriage, and it's going to be beautiful. King and Country. That's the name of the band. They're going to be in that video, and they're dressed in like old Victorian attire, and it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, it'd be neat.
It's going to be cool to see Lee Marie and Stephen.
We're very fortunate to have those two here in our county.
Yeah, we are. They're a lot of fun.
They're just involved in everything.
They really are. We love you guys. We love you guys, Lee and Steve. So, all right, we're talking with Bill Jones. He's going to tell us things you might not know about some of the presidents.
Federal holiday, as I said, started in 1879 by Rutherford B. Hayes, and that was only for Washington, D.C., just D.C. area. Then in 1885, it was nationwide. They made it nationwide then. It was the first federal holiday to honor individual Americans. The first time they ever honored anybody, with a federal holiday. Then in 1971, which is, I wasn't too young then, it was shifted to President's Day. Mm-hmm. So that's a fairly new name, President's Day from Washington's birthday. And while most Americans and retailers celebrate President's Day, the federal government still recognizes the holiday as Washington's birthday. They still recognize it as that, but we celebrate it as President's birthday, President's Day. And it's something how they,
Okay, so federally it's still considered Washington's birthday?
Yeah, but we call it President's Day.
Okay. Yeah, because his birthday is coming up.
It's recognized as a state holiday in most states, but not all states. Mm-hmm. The states have authority to choose whatever they want to do, which, as I said earlier, that's sort of neat for our country. I don't know of any other country they do that. They have that much authority. But some states, such as Delaware, Florida, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, North Carolina, Rhode Island, and Wisconsin, do not officially recognize Washington's birthday or President's Day. Some have alternative dates. Celebrate the day at different times, or combine it with other state-specific holidays. A few states, like Delaware, do not observe a specific presidential holiday at all. Instead, offer employees floating holidays, so they can use it anytime they want to. But they sort of do recognize it because they give them official floating time, but they don't recognize it like a lot of others do. So, states have their rules and government has theirs, and it's sort of unique that we do that, allow things to do that. Unique in observances, Georgia and Indiana moved the observance to 2 other days, and that's Christmas Eve and the day after Thanksgiving. Isn't that strange? I never knew that until I started looking at it. Created a longer holiday break is the reason they did it. New Mexico observes a holiday on Friday following Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So isn't it strange, Alabama celebrates Washington and Thomas Jefferson Day birthdays. And that Arkansas, as I mentioned earlier, combines Washington's birthday with civil rights leader Daisy Gatson Bates, and they celebrate both of them on the same day.
I've never heard of her.
So that's just a general thing about this area.
So if you change states, your President's Day holiday may be very different.
Yeah, it's different.
So, okay.
But the federal law stays the same. The states don't have to observe that. They can say, yes, it is federal holiday, but it's not a state holiday. So they can do that. Then I combined a little interesting little looks at presidents. Now
this is the main reason I wanted you, because I figured I knew you would have the basic history of why we celebrate President's Day. But when I was working for Glenn Beck, I learned so many bizarre facts about just all kinds of things. We're going to get into that. Because he's really into history. And that's what made me much more interested in history, I think, is the more I heard.
That does
Glenn would tell us stuff all the time. And I
got tired of who's born here and died then. I don't care.
Yeah. And so that got me fascinated with it. But I thought, I bet Bill's got some stuff. So let's hear.
That's the way I do.
I know you do. But we're talking about Bill Jones. This is President's Day. So a lot of people taking the day off. Hope you're getting up, having your morning coffee with us, or you're out on the lake like Paul Rainey is. I don't know what y'all are up to out there.
What's he on the lake doing? He can't fish. It's no.
Who knows?
Foggy,
I
guarantee
you, it has something to. It probably has something to do with grandkids.
Wow,
they're out sometimes early with the grands. But he was saying out by Old Hickory, it's. Well, actually, I don't know. Nonetheless, he's hearing us through the terrestrial signal this morning, it sounds like. So I always like to hear how the signal's picking up.
I got to meet him sometime. He's an interesting guy.
Oh, yeah. He was a firefighter for 41 years. Yeah, he's a pretty interesting dude. Okay, we're talking with Bill Jones, and he is going to continue. He's going to tell us some things we might not know about some of our presidents on this President's Day.
Okay, I found a poll that was taken to name the best-looking presidents. Who do you think the first one is?
Oh, Kennedy.
Yeah.
John F. Kennedy. I would think.
The second one surprised me. Joe Biden.
You're kidding.
Right. And then third is George W. Bush.
Really?
That's a young one. And then the fourth one was Barack Obama.
Really?
And the fifth one's Ronald Reagan. I'd have thought Ronald Reagan would have been up the top.
I would have too, because in his heyday, I mean, that was an actor.
But now they're looking at pictures when they're young.
Yeah.
Not necessarily how we see them. Like Rutherford B. Hayes was the next one. And I'll admit, I looked at a younger picture of him yesterday. He was a very good-looking guy.
Rutherford B. Hayes. Yeah. And now I'm curious.
Then President Grant, Ulysses.
I could see that.
That's Grant, yeah. George H.W. Bush, and they're looking at photos of him when he was young, and in World War II, as a pilot, they were looking at that. And then William McKinley, I never looked at him real close when he was young, but he is a good-looking guy. And, of course, number 10 is Teddy Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt.
Really?
Now, I have some other facts about him
in a minute.
You have to
look up the old pictures.
But you need to look at old pictures. They tell a lot. And, of course, a lot of these presidents were, I wrote down here, they were athletes, they were military veterans, people, they shined for different people. Actors like Ronald Reagan, he was named the Gipper. You remember that? There was a movie he was in 1940. He was a football player in that movie.
I didn't realize why he had that name. I just knew that was a nickname that he carried.
He was a young football player, very popular, and he was called the Gipper, and I don't know why that name. JFK at 42 was famously the youngest man ever elected to the White House, but later they figured out that Theodore Roosevelt preceded that by 86 days. So he was actually the youngest man, but they thought it was Kennedy.
And how old was Kennedy when he was elected?
42.
42.
That's
okay.
pretty young, couldn't, the way I'm looking at it from way back here down there, but if I was 25, I think that's old. And I remember thinking that at the time, I thought, well, he's not real young, but he really was. Let's see. Grover Cleveland, he was 47 years old when he was elected president. Okay. He was also elected both the 22nd and 24th president. And he was married to a 21-year-old woman while he was in office. So
that was scandalous.
That was more scandalous then than it
I can imagine, yeah.
Now, I looked up, too, some of our president's strangest hobbies. And can you know of anybody, any of them that did
Nothing right off the bat, no.
Okay. Lyndon Johnson, he used to have one of these cars that you could drive along and it'd drive right into the water and it'd float like a boat.
It was an amphibious vehicle.
Yeah, and he would scare people because he'd be driving along and he wouldn't tell them what he's doing. All of a sudden, he'd just go right off into the water.
And what era, what year was it?
Well, in the 60s, I guess.
Okay. I'm
70
surprised.
Maybe.
I don't think I remember.
But anyway, he had this amphibious, and there's lots of pictures of him on the internet, but people riding with him, but he wouldn't tell them what he was doing. They thought it was just a modern car, and then he'd
just drive
off in the water, and they think he was going to commit suicide or something.
Oh, how funny.
Calvin Coolidge, he liked to ride mechanical horses. What do you like to do? I like to ride a horse at the dime store,
That's hysterical.
Theodore Roosevelt, his hobby was killing animals. He killed thousands of animals.
I remember him being a big hunter.
Yeah. I hate that. John Quincy Adams, he was a skinny dipper. He'd take his clothes off and jump right in the water. And that's what he'd love to do.
I bet the Secret Service loved that.
And then George.
I've heard that about other presidents, though. I've heard about presidents doing that
I've heard Johnson did that.
Well, and I can remember reading stuff about some of the things that the Secret Service has to endure.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having to? I just can't.
They can't tell. They can't go home and tell about it,
But some of the things that they have to put up with, and that will come out maybe after the president's passed or something. You'll hear stories.
Yeah.
And that should be a book, The Tales of the Secret Service. Once they can tell stuff.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
The thing about it, to me, they can't gossip. They can't tell anybody. Maybe after they died, or way after they died, or even there's some they can't tell then.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about some of those in a minute.
Go for it.
George Washington, he liked to breed mules. He liked mule breeding. He did that a lot and enjoyed doing it.
Well, they say he just really desired to go back and be a farmer.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a farmer. Yeah. And it's like there's so many things where he talked about, I've given so much, and all I really want to do is just go back to my farm.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm very much paraphrasing. I'm sure he said it very eloquently, but it's like, there is a speech that talks about that specifically. I have given this, I'm given that, and all I really desire is just to go back to be in the land. So
we talked one time about Thomas Jefferson Bible.
Yes.
I think I've got one maybe, but anyway, Thomas Jefferson wrote his own Bible. He took all the miracles of Jesus Christ out.
It's quite interesting if you look into Jefferson's
strange.
work.
But anyway, his hobby was making spy gadgets to spy on people. That's so. It sounds sort of like him because he did his own Bible and he was fluent in several languages, French and English and German, I think, and something else.
Anything specific that he did he'd made this to do this?
Probably. I didn't get into that.
That would be something fun to dig into if you want to, have a little.
And Teddy Roosevelt, we just mentioned Theodore Roosevelt, was a wrestler, and he took lessons from middleweight champion to learn how to wrestle, and there was another president that did that too. But I thought they are, it's sort of like us, and they're not.
Well, I mean, they have their own. There's ones that are into art, and they paint and different things like that. So,
Now, Obama thing was collecting comic books. He would collect them like they's going out of style. I don't know whatever he probably still got them, I guess. But I had friends growing up that collected comic books. Yeah. And now they've become very valuable. A lot of them. Anyway.
I'll have to tell you something funny. We were in Mount Juliet on Saturday, and our grandchildren had basketball games, so we were out there very early on, and so we had some time in between one basketball game to the other, and some errands we were going to run. So we went over into the Providence area where they have their shopping center. And we were just kind of driving around waiting for this place to open. And I went to the Good Feet store. I'll tell y'all about that. Good land, that place is expensive. Have you ever been there?
No, I've heard talk about it.
Golly. But anyway, so we were driving around, and we saw these people lined up in front of Best Buy. I mean, probably 20 people lined up waiting for Best Buy to open. And I'm like, okay, it's not Black Friday. Why in the world? And of course, me being me, I said, pull over there. I need to know why these people are lined up going into Best Buy.
You jumped right in the middle of the line.
New Pokemon cards.
Oh.
That's why they were there. The new Pokemon cards were coming out.
That Good Feet thing, back to that Good Feet thing, if it works and makes you much better, you'll pay anything,
But that's the thing. I had, if you get what they sell, $2,000 a person. But you get them for life, but $2,000 a person. Yeah. And then I got on chat, and I said, what the inserts that you get from Good Feet store, are they worth it? And basically they're like, no, get them online because you can get them for $100. Basically the same thing. So I'm just saying, but nonetheless, I digress. But we went in there. I was like, no,
talking
very expensive.
With my daughter yesterday. She's in California. Yeah. And she has back trouble a lot. Yeah. And I told her, I said, why don't you, I don't want to mention the brand. I've heard this brand was really, really good for that. Because now that I recognize it, I see people all the time with these shoes on. So she did. She went and bought them. She said, I haven't had any back pain since.
For her. Okay.
And it's been weeks, maybe a month and a half.
Okay.
So these things do work pretty good.
Oh, it does. What you wear on your shoes are very important. And so we actually got something similar on Amazon. And so, I mean, we could get into that. This is President's Day. I don't want to get too much into that. We'll get off subject.
We got time.
But there is a lot to it. But that's a lot of money, man. I think Good Feet store might be expensive. But anyway,
you get what you pay for, and if it works, it's like hearing aids. People are paying $5,000 and $6,000 for hearing aids now. You go to Costco for $1,500. Same thing.
Same thing. Yeah. So there you go. You gotta look around.
I don't want to get into that, but
there's a lot.
We could three sets of hearing aids.
We could definitely do a consumer kind of a consumer insight thing. So maybe we'll do that on the show coming up.
That's sort of, you got to be careful with that a little bit. Well, you don't tell something that's not true, and then they get sued.
You also too, because President's Day has been. It's like the President's Day sale. You could actually tie a consumer show into President's Day. When you had the stores, did you have President's Day sales?
Yeah.
You did?
Always, everybody.
Yeah, everybody did. Yeah. Interesting.
I just thought, well, why are we selling something cheaper because it's President's Day?
It's like, whatever, but it's what you do.
Yeah, it's just what you do. Just looking for days to celebrate so you can have a sale. There's never a day you don't have a mattress sale.
Oh, that's fun.
It's every day.
Every day you got to have a mattress sale. Yeah. And if you're not familiar, they had furniture store and you had a flooring store. That was the last thing you were doing. They actually put the flooring in my classroom. So there you go. And but let me
changed.
Do what?
Flooring has changed.
Yes, it has.
We used to sell a lot of wool rugs. You don't see that anymore, but they last forever. You see old wool rolls now, people roll them up, take them. Yeah. They were really made well.
Okay. We're talking with Bill Jones, talking about all things President's Day. And we're going to hear about some interesting things about presidents that we did not know. But let's pause for a second. Let's talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime or Realty. My friends in the real estate community, if you are looking for anything, whatever it is you need to know. We mention this all the time. They are our longest running full-time sponsor. We love them. And if you want to know something about being a realtor, they both had different careers. They can tell you how this balances in regards to what they were doing. You're an entrepreneur when you take on a real estate career. You have a flexible schedule, but you have a very demanding schedule. Barry says that if it's something you're really interested in, he may talk you out of it because it's not for everybody. But if it is for you, man, you're going to love it. He came out of a media marketing career, was vice president of a media marketing company for 17 years in Nashville. She was in radiology before she went into real estate, but they both love it and wouldn't trade it for anything, and they're very, very good at it. They get awards all the time for the outstanding job they do. So if you're wanting to sell something, that is a testament to the fact that they're going to do it and they're going to do it well. Barry, because of his marketing, he can do walkthrough tours, he can do drone footage, he can do all the video and the photography that you need that makes sure that your property is seen in the absolute best light and it's not going to be missed. If you've got somebody that's getting older, they want to downsize or they want to talk to somebody about that, Rebecca's one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. So she specializes in that specific need. And they also can sell across the state line, buy and sell in Kentucky. They have a broker in the exit office up in White House that can still broker deals in Kentucky. The laws have changed. Not everybody can. So Barry and Rebecca, they specialize in Robertson County properties because they live here with us. They're Robertson Countyans for 30 years up in Cross Plains, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. They're the whole package, everything you need. You can find them just by hitting the Google search. Barry Richards, Exit Prime Realty, Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty. Or you can go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, RobertsonCounty.com, or you can give them a call, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, or 7424. Let them know U-Turn sent you. And thank them for being our longest-running full-time sponsor. And if you'd like to sponsor the show, reach out to me. And we'd love to put you on. All right, Bill, let's hear some unusual things.
Let me ask you a question. How many presidents do you remember that were assassinated in office?
Assassinated in office. Of course, John F. Kennedy.
Yep.
I know there was one other. Well, of course, and of course, Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, yeah.
Those are the two more. No, but there's
two more.
Two more? Mm-hmm. I was thinking there was one more, but I don't remember either one of them.
James Garfield.
Okay.
And William McKinley.
Okay, what happened in their situations?
They got killed.
Well, but I'm saying, was it?
I don't know. They were
shot,
something. I don't
Somebody
remember.
shot them. Okay, yeah. Because they tried to assassinate. Reagan was shot.
Yeah.
While he was in office.
In fact, I'll tell you an interesting thing about Reagan being shot. When he was shot, they pulled his clothes off going to the hospital and threw him in the garbage, and he had the control card to launch nuclear missiles in that clothing. And they had to go back and find it. That's one of the unique things about. And he's not the only one that did something like that. Bill Clinton did too. He lost it for several weeks.
Seriously.
Yeah. So we'll get
into that. They
were
trying to tend to Reagan after he was shot. His clothes were discarded, and it had the codes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
Isn't that something?
I'm not surprised that Clinton lost
after
him, though,
all of this
quite
stuff,
frankly.
Safeguard him. Something simple like that happens.
But I can see Clinton losing them because it was Bill.
Now let's get into the lasts of presidents. The last, L-A-S-T-S, the last one to do certain things. Okay. George H.W. Bush, that's the older one, who was the last president to be born at home.
Oh, okay.
Bill Clinton was the last one that had a budget surplus. I don't think anybody's ever had that but him. But he was the last one. Harry Truman was the only president that didn't have a college degree. And I think that's unique,
That's very unique. And
James.
Honestly, so he was the only one that didn't have a college degree.
Right. Harry Truman. He was a very down-to-earth type guy.
Washington had a degree?
Washington and Lee, maybe. I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. I would think that the early founders, maybe at a certain point, because I would think that the early founders wouldn't have.
I just didn't go that far to prove that point.
Okay.
James K. Polk, the last president that didn't have children. I found this picture of this guy, and his name is Jimmy Polk, John E. Polk. He lived in Cedar Hill, and he was a descendant of James K. Polk.
Okay.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. So somebody that was here.
James K. Polk came around here. In fact, a guy from here was his Secretary of War or something like. Anyway, I can't think his name right now. I'm getting to him. I can't think his name. Anyway, let's see. William McKinley was the last without a Secret Service detail. Of course, he was killed. He didn't have a Secret Service detail.
so that may have been the reason why they brought it on.
Yeah.
Was after
well, I'm sure.
What year was he killed?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't remember all this stuff.
Okay.
Benjamin Harrison, last president that had a beard.
That's funny.
Yeah. Dwight D.
If Vance ends up being our president after Trump, doesn't he?
Well, that's interesting. Yeah,
Vance has a beard.
Thought. I figured.
I'm pretty sure he has a beard. Yeah.
Yeah. Dwight D. Eisenhower, the last president who traveled regularly by train.
Okay.
Franklin D. Roosevelt, he was inaugurated in March instead of January. He was the last president to do that, and the reason for that, which is interesting to me. In 1933, there was an amendment, the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, changed from March to January to shorten the lame duck period. You know what lame duck came from?
Well, I don't know where it came from, but I understand what it means. The concept. Yeah.
What's the concept?
Well, the concept is the lame duck. If the election happens in November, and then you have the inauguration happening in March, then you've got the period between November and March that the president that's leaving has no power because they know what's happening.
So they changed that from March to January so to shorten that period of time.
Okay, I think that's good.
But it came from, the term lame duck came from an 18th century thing they had in England when a stockbroker went broke. And he defaulted on his debts, and he was forced to waddle out of the market. That was just a description they gave. He was injured, an injured duck or injured bird waddling out of the market because he was totally broke. And in the 1800s, it started applying to politicians in that period of time.
Well, especially if you're going from, if you've got Republican control and you're losing it and you're going to go to Democrat control. Yeah. If you don't have the power, I mean, you just use nothing you can really get done at that point.
Well, the first time that term was used, 1863, with senators who were that way,
Right.
So
okay. Interesting.
That is interesting to me.
Oh, I find it fascinating where all this stuff comes from. Yeah. And I've heard, the term rhino came up yesterday at my son's house.
That's a fairly new term.
What brought it up is my granddaughter is playing on a basketball team in the Upwards League, and they're called the Rhinos. And I said, I've never heard of a mascot for a basketball team. And this is little bitty girls, and they're called Rhinos. And I thought it was hysterical. And my son said, well, I only hear that in politics now.
Well, if it was 100 years old, it'd be called, the little girl would be called Brownies.
Yes, we talked about that the other day. Yeah. But Rhino is Republican.
Another unique thing I found. President Washington wasn't the first person to be called president of our states, and I'd never heard that before until I found this. That he was technically not the first person in the federal government with the title of president. Under the government formed in ratification of the U.S. Constitution in 1788, this man won the vote unanimous for the Constitution. Wasn't the only government form document in the nation. It was ratified in 1781. And then a man called Samuel Huntington of Connecticut was serving as president of the Continental Congress.
That's what I was saying.
He resigned, and there was Thomas McKean of Delaware, who became the president in 1781. And then they elected John Hanson, the delegate from Maryland, first leader, and they called him president. And each of these men held the title of president, but they didn't possess the powers of the position until George Washington.
It was the Congress. They were president of the Congress, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Was that?
So that term president wasn't the first time used with president. Now, some unique things. We got time here to get into.
Yeah, you got plenty of time.
Okay. You may not know some of these things about presidents. And usually we think they thought of presidents way back then as very respected. They were treated with respect, considered someone who earned their position due to their past actions and moral character and personal and professional choices. But that's not the case with some of the presidents. A lot of them are prone to making mistakes, as we found out. George Washington, he started a war French and Indian War. He started that war, and it lasted from 1754 to 1763. People don't talk about that much, but he did that. He went in and killed a bunch of people over in Illinois, I think, where the French were. Bill Clinton lost the presidential nuclear codes in 2010. That's not that far away. Former chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, General Hugh Shelton, wrote a book about it called Without Hesitation. And the nickname for that code? Called a biscuit. And they said he lost the biscuit.
When did they ever give details on where it was found and what was the circumstances?
I didn't get that. I don't know where they found it.
I think that would be an interesting thing to do.
It was a card that had codes on it, Okay. Took place in the year 2000. He kept it with his credit cards in his billfold. He had them all pinned together, and he put them somewhere and lost them all. He had a rubber band around them.
Oh my
Isn't that
goodness.
unique? Your codes that can create a nuclear war was wrapped around in rubber bands with his credit card. But Clinton isn't the only U.S. president to misplace or lose sight of the nuclear codes. Jimmy Carter once left a biscuit in a suit that was sent to the dry cleaners.
Oh, no.
During the administration of Ronald Reagan, which we talked about a while ago, the card was thrown away during an assassination attempt when they took the president's clothes and cut them off of him and was going to throw it in the garbage can, So we talked a while ago, George Washington created the French and Indian War. Let's see, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, they visited England and visited Shakespeare's house location. There was a corner chair sitting he had a fireplace in a corner, and there was a chair that he sat in. So both of them cut little slivers of wood off the chair, which other people did also later. But the funny thing, it's like a lot of talk that you hear. Later, they didn't, either they replaced the chair or no one really did cut those slivers off, but the chair is complete. It's there now. But one of them, Adams, for instance, John Adams, he didn't think too much of Shakespeare's house. He wasn't very impressed, where Jefferson was. Of course, Jefferson was that kind of guy. And Jefferson, when he got there, he bent down and kissed the floor, kissed the ground that Shakespeare lived at.
How bizarre. Okay.
When he arrived, anyway. Benjamin Harrison and his family were afraid of electricity because they were in the White House, and that's when they first installed electricity in the White House. And he was scared of it.
That was going to burn
They were
the place
afraid
down.
to turn a switch on. They were just very afraid of it.
There was a lot of people.
This is in 1891.
Well, and didn't Edison have a lot to do with that? Edison tried to.
Edison is
Edison and Tesla.
He invented a lot of things he didn't.
Oh man.
He was just an opportunist.
The Edison and Tesla conflict, AC versus DC power.
Yeah.
And the way Edison manipulated that to try to make everybody afraid of it, it was, that he electrocuted an elephant. Go look up Topsy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's really interesting.
Tesla has an interesting life. He died broke.
Yeah.
In a hotel room.
Tesla or Edison?
Tesla was very smart.
Tesla was fascinating. Yeah. He's just brilliant.
Pictures of him. He looked good young, but in his older age, he didn't look good.
Well, he married I don't know. He's like married a bird or something. I don't know. He was an odd dude, but so brilliant. But go ahead. I'm sorry. You mentioned that fear of electricity, and I thought that had to have come from what Edison
chief of
pushed
staff
out there.
Was Irwin Hoover, and he was the one telling all this. Of course, you have to wait for a while before you hear about all this. But the whole family was scared to death of it. They didn't really want it. And they didn't use the light in their private chambers. They wouldn't use electricity in their private part, but over in the rest of the White House, they did because they installed it like that. He was scared to death to even push a button to ring a bell. It had an electric buzzer, not a bell, but a buzzer. I remember when I was a small kid at my grandmother's house. That house was built around 1870. It doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
But I noticed they didn't have electricity in it, and all your wiring you'd see on the outside of the wall, they added later a little twisted wire with a little round switch, And I remember there was a buzzer in the front bedroom where my mother and father was staying at the house when in my younger years, and there was a switch in the kitchen, and they would push the button, not a switch, to let them know breakfast was ready or something like that, And I remember that buzzer, and it was all wiring running around the walls to the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
And I remember the kitchen was separated from the house at one time. You could tell the kitchen, all that was concrete, and the house floor wasn't. But back in those days, they would separate the kitchen from the house because the kitchen caught on fire a lot.
Yeah.
So that's why it was that way. But anyway, electric buzzers, and they sometimes had to have a family conference, so they'd use a buzzer. But other than that, they were scared to use it. John Adams had a dog named Satan. And they actually had two dogs. His wife had a dog named Juno. And the reason for that, John Adams, like John Milton's work, about hell, the different divisions of hell, and he liked his work. And so it's called Paradise Lost was his book.
Yep.
And so that's why he named his dog Satan, because he really liked that work. John F. Kennedy, he almost got expelled from school, a private school. He went to Schoate, S-C-H-O-A-T-E, private school, and a boarding school in Connecticut. And he was a little bit of a mischievous type person, and he almost, if it wasn't for his daddy, he would have gotten expelled from school. What he did, he had a roommate named Kirk Lamone Lim, they call him Billings. And they sort of formed a club called the Muckers, and they were doing things. They wanted several things they almost did, and it really got them in trouble. One was putting a load of manure in the gymnasium.
Oh no!
But they were doing things like that, and
yeah.
And they formed a club called the Muckers, and the headmaster had disdain for him. He didn't like either one of them.
Yeah. Troublemakers.
Billings later turned out to be a homosexual, which caused a lot of problems for him. So the headmaster was going to expel Kennedy and Lemmings, but the Joseph P. Kennedy Sr. came in and talked him into not doing that. But later, when Kennedy was president, the Soviet Union learned that his roommate in college was gay. They tried to
say that he was this association.
And it wasn't very popular, accepted back in that day.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to blackmail Kennedy, and because his roommate was gay, and I don't know if anybody knows the details of all that, but I know that was something they tried to do. Well, that's interesting, But Ulysses S. Grant, he was stopped for speeding 3 times. This is before cars. He thought he was president. He was a general in the Civil War, so he thought he could do it as being president and get away with it. He said. Newspaper reports at the time indicated Grant had been exercising his fast gray nag, the horse, and that he got stopped for speeding.
Oh,
and he didn't believe. Yeah.
On a horse?
Yeah. They had speed limits for buggies and horses.
That's hysterical. Then. I mean, that's like when you said that, I thought, what?
Speed limit may have been 5 to 8 miles per hour.
He got stopped for speeding on his horse. That's just too funny.
Well,
that's hysterical.
Then he kept on. He didn't think being president he could be stopped. He didn't think they could arrest him or anything like that. But when they stopped him, they gave him a fine, and he paid the fine and said, "I'm sorry," and went on. And then a few months later, happened again. He got arrested again in 1872.
That's funny.
Got caught speeding while racing friends in Washington, D.C. He was racing down the street, somebody, and they stopped him for the Grant. And that he was in a horse and buggy then when they were racing. I got a picture of the first T-bone of an old car. I've got it at home, picture of it up against a pole in Washington, I think.
I never knew there were speed limits for horse and buggies.
Yeah, there was. In Springfield, too. They had them in Springfield.
That's hysterical. Okay. That's totally new information there. Okay.
And he later said, "I'm very sorry to have to do this. Oh no, there was a man named West. His name was Officer William Henry West. It caught Grant speeding on his horse-drawn buggy. The unique thing about West was he was black. He was only one of 2 blacks that were on the Washington, D.C. force.
Okay.
And he's the one that stopped Grant and fined him for speeding.
That's hysterical.
And he said, Mr. President, I am very sorry to have to do this for you, since you're the chief of the nation, and I am nothing but a policeman, but duty is duty, sir, and I will have to place you under arrest.
That's great.
And he was a black civil rights, Civil War veteran.
That's so fun.
Isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting.
He took Grant to the police station.
That's hysterical. The president. I love it.
And then Grant later, Grant took all this on his shoulder. He didn't take it too hard. He made sure West would not be experiencing any backlash for taking him into custody.
Just
made sure he didn't get in trouble.
That's right.
West, that's a pretty good stand to take. You're going to arrest the president of the United States.
That's hysterical.
And he thought, well, I'm going to lose my job, but Grant made sure he didn't. And some of them tried, after that, a lot of them tried to get West fired. There was a movement on to get him convicted and fired. And Grant intervened and stopped it on West's behalf. So there's some interesting things. Another one, Grover Cleveland. He executed 2 men while serving as a sheriff. Now, the first one he executed 1872, and that wasn't such a big deal. But 1873, he executed a man that had stabbed another one in a card game or something, and he said he felt real bad. He was real troubled by that because the man was leaving a wife and children, and they didn't have any way of putting food on the table. And he said he felt really bad about it, but he did it. Anyway.
Well, it's like he murdered somebody, and it's like.
Well, the court convicted him of murder, and they sentenced him to death. The last one I got is Andrew Jackson, his wife. They adopted an orphan indigenous American child, this little boy. And a lot of us have. His name was Lincoln. And they were in a battle, fierce battle, I think, if I have that, battle of, I can't even pronounce it, Teleshushatchi in 1813. And this baby was in the middle of the battle, left nursing on his mother who was dead. And so Jackson adopted him and took him in. He died at a young age, but he was only 10 to 12 months old when Jackson adopted him.
So the child died young?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was a boy.
When they do the tours downtown, we did this with our school when at Good Pasture. We took a tour. It was like a Tennessee state tour, and the tour guides will often talk about that.
Yeah,
they talk about.
I was there. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
So that's why I have heard that story many times, but I didn't realize he had died young.
In fact, he called him Andy Jr.
Okay.
And Andrew Jackson called this little boy,
and
so interesting. And he took other children under their care also.
It's not like they had
and it was indigenous
children.
women and children refused to do so. He took on them and other children. It's just sort of, Andrew Jackson has a tough persona about him. He's sort of like what I think of Trump today. He did things that crossed the line and crossed people up and everything. So he was sort of a wild guy, and took in these children. And he just has a different type.
I don't think they had biological children, did they?
No.
So they adopted children, and he's got some nefarious things about him for sure. But when it comes to the Native Americans and stuff, but then you look at some of it and you're like, okay, that seems bizarre that he had that kindness in him and did so many things that weren't.
One of the historians wrote about him, Lincoln or whatever his name. He pictured him as a cursory, educational, and trained as a something as a novelty or a pet. Jackson, that's an interesting slant to it. You think of a child as a pet.
Ooh,
but Jackson was a different type guy. He wasn't the same as other presidents, but you think of him as a pet or a novelty because he was an Indian, but he called him Andy Jr.
Interesting.
So you got to think about that for a while to picture in your mind what that was exactly. And he educated him. He gave him education, and he was trained to be a saddle maker in Nashville.
Okay.
This boy was. He died in 1828 of tuberculosis.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't live a long time. He was up in his probably 20s or something.
Okay.
But anyway, that's what I have.
Well, that's interesting, Bill. And I mean, we've got just a couple of minutes here. Yeah, you did good. You got through it. You got through it there, Bill. I knew that he would have some fascinating stuff for us because on President's Day, I think it's one of those things that there's so much history we don't know.
It is.
There's a new app they have out that says replace your scrolling and learn history, Paladine or something. I don't know what it's called, but it's interesting, but it's a paid subscription kind of thing, and I hesitate to.
Well, that's what stops me. There's a lot of stuff like that
I find fascinating, but then they want $10 a month for it or something silly, and so that's kind of made me pause on it. But you learn about historical things. I had one of them pop up in my stream the other day that was talking about it was around the time of World War II, if I'm not mistaken, up in Nova Scotia, where two battleships collided right off the coast, and they were full of armaments, and they exploded, and it was the largest man-made explosion until Hiroshima. And there was a mushroom cloud, and the people were all like watching these ships burn. And they were like, oh, that's fascinating. And then it blew up and it just leveled the town, absolutely destroyed the town. Never knew about that.
There's a lot of
Never things knew about that.
Let me give you an incident I had in ham radio. I was talking to a guy in Puerto Rico one night, and he said he was in the Navy. I said, what's your MOS? He said, I'm a language interpreter. I said, well, my brother was too. I know exactly what you do, which is secret. My brother did stuff that wasn't supposed to be told. He told me, but I rattle off stuff, and I said, I know about the submarine in the South Atlantic that ran into the Russian ship and of course that wasn't in the news. Well, the next day, two naval intelligence officers came to my office, sat down and interviewed me for 3 hours. Finally had me hold up my hand and swear I'd never tell. Scared me to death. But I went and told my brother. He went and wrote a lot of stuff down and put it in a lockbox in First National Bank.
Oh, my gosh.
If I disappear, you get this,
Oh, my gosh.
And I thought, well, I just did something stupid, But there's a lot of stories people come back with that you don't hear in the news. But, there's stuff going on all the time. They can have explosions. And now it's hard not to know about it today.
Right, because of the media.
But there are things like that go on, and it's just amazing.
It is fascinating.
Anyway,
we're out of time now, but Bill Jones, always fun to talk with you and get the insight on this. And I'm not sure, I don't guess we'll have, we should have had county commissioners meetings tonight, but I'm guessing because President's Day, they'll move it to next week. Normally we would have Mayor Vogel on tomorrow. So honestly, I've got to figure out who's coming in tomorrow. So, hey, we'll figure that out, and we'll get somebody in here. I really want to get Danny Atchell.
You don't know how good a guy you got with Mayor Vogel.
Yeah,
guys. He is something else. And
he's a good man.
I hate to see him leave, retire after that, but he's really a sharp guy.
Everybody knows he's struggling with his health.
I told him he has so many good one-liners like Mark Twain does. I said, you ought to write all these things down. Mark Twain had 500 of them just about politics.
Isn't that great?
He laughed when I told him that.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Keep him in your prayers, y'all. And we appreciate y'all so much. And again, Lee Marie's got a special thing going on today for President's Day at Well in the Square, starting at 1 o'clock. They're going to have an intermediate lesson. Then I don't have my notes in front of me. My computer died, Lee Marie. But Well in the Square, if you want to learn line dancing from beginning to end, and it starts at 1, and then they're going to go for about 45 minutes, take about a 15-minute break, and then pick up the next lesson. Again, 45 minutes, take a break, and then pick up the next lesson. It'll go from about 1 till 5 today. Be a great opportunity if you're somebody who's just wanting to kind of get in there and start dancing. Why don't you go do that? That'd be a lot of fun today. And it looks like the fog is burning off now, so I guess we can get home. Thank you, Bill.
An hour, probably.
Thank you, Bill Jones, and everything right here. Thank you for joining us. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Oh, God's had a lot of great ideas, but the one I think I love the most has to be grandkids.